Hi, this is Ryan Parker, producer and co-host for CPGB. We're putting a disclaimer up front because we are going to talk about COVID-19 and the politics surrounding it. In recent days, certain events have occurred in the city in which this podcast is based, Raleigh, North Carolina, and more specifically, right in our own neighborhood. This means that you're going to hear our political opinions for the first time on this podcast. So if you don't want to hear about politics, this is not your show. We have plenty of other content we have recorded in the past 2 years, and we have plenty of more to come. If our political opinions offend you and you no longer care to listen to the podcast, then we thank you for listening, and we hope you come back. So with that, enjoy the show. Hi, hello, and welcome to episode number 28 of CPGB, the home of underground podcasting, where we discuss comedy, punk, games, and books. I am your co-host, Ryan Parker, and joining me as always is a nerd that cleans while he disinfects, Reed Pegram.
I'm so dirty. Hello, how's it going?
We are coming to you today from the lair of lockdown, located somewhere in the steam tunnels deep beneath the soft white underbelly of Raleigh, North Carolina. And Reed, you are in an undisclosed location at the other end of a very long string with a tin can, correct?
The very sharp tin can. It's crazy how much more this tin can has rusted since the last time we recorded the episode.
I thought you cut yourself shaving. But yeah. It's like, where's that blood coming from?
So is a tetanus shot elective? Can I do that right now? Is that
right? That's essential surgery. Yeah. That's an essential need, an essential medical process. How you been, man? How are things over in your neck of the woods?
It's been okay, man. I've just been I don't know. I've been still trying to write some jokes. I don't know if I'm funny anymore, but I'm still writing stuff down.
How's your audience of one?
I think she's getting real sick of me, honestly. I think she's. You think I'd be more relatable? Honestly, I could not be more just esoteric about stuff all the time. There are Wikipedia pages I have to pull up to explain jokes I'm making, and that's fine. It's good. Every day I learn that she's actually funnier than I am.
Imagine how a regular audience must feel.
Oh, man. No, I've just been trying to make some art too, and I don't know, trying to release that on Wednesday once a week.
Yeah, I've really been looking forward to getting those Darth versus Vader. Are you going to continue that series? Yeah,
I don't know if I'm going to be able to. I have an idea for the next one I want to do. I don't know if there's something else right now that I like more that I might just post on Wednesday and get the next one out on Wednesday, next Wednesday.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I'm going to keep doing those. It's really fun. I feel like they get kind of easier and they look better each time it happens.
Well, good, man.
It keeps me from going crazy, honestly.
But at least you guys have a little patio you can get out.
I need some kind of schedule.
Right. You have a little patio though, right?
Yeah.
Get out on.
I mean, it's we have a slab of concrete outside of our back door. Yeah. I don't know. I think you got a better deal.
Well, it took us a while to get here.
You got a little bit of a bench.
We got a bench?
I don't know. How many times have you been where you are and then a possum comes from out of nowhere and you scare each other? That's happened to me 3 times on my patio. So
we had deer in the backyard.
I think you might have a better situation.
Well, I mean, we're both.
Oh man, last week, all right, a baby bird fell out of a nest somewhere and landed on our patio, and I was upset about it. Jenna had to take care of it. I was sad, and I smoked cigarettes on the far end of the patio.
You socially distanced it from the little bird.
from this baby dead robin. It was just like, yeah, it was like, oh man.
Reed, that's so
Jason
sad.
Todd.
Oh, it happens though, man. It happens. It's okay, Reed. It's this time of year it happens. You grew up on a farm. You'd think you'd be like used to that by now.
I know. Yeah, I know. Death. I've just been, it's been more of the same, watching a lot of Godzilla movies. I can't stop watching Godzilla movies. It seems appropriate.
Oh, yeah, so. You said you got the Plex package now, right?
Yeah, I have a benefit Plex, yeah.
What movies have you been able to watch on there?
I watched like The Exorcist, like kind of earnestly for the first time last week. That was on there, and I also watched the third one.
Oh wow,
which is not as good, but like has some really good spots in it.
And which Godzilla movies are you mean? Like all the old Godzilla movies, like Mothra and?
Yeah, I mean, dude, since the pandemic's gone down, I've maybe watched the first like 54 Gojira, like the Japanese cut, like twice, and then like Destroy All Monsters, Godzilla versus Biollante, Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla.
I love that.
Yeah, like all the old stuff.
I love
all the old stuff. I love it.
I love Mechagodzilla. Like as a kid, that's what I wanted to be when I grew up, was a Mechagodzilla technician.
You didn't want to actually be Mechagodzilla?
No, I wanted to be one of the guys in the background pulling the levers and turning the knobs and wearing the cool jumpsuit, man. Those guys looked like they had their shit together.
Yeah. No, I got you. We would have been in opposition because I feel like I grew up wanting to be Godzilla.
Oh, okay.
I wanted to be Godzilla. Who didn't?
Oh man. It's like, I guess it's that fascination with tech at a very young age.
Yeah, I get that.
And a monster all combined into like just two perfect worlds combining, like a Reese's cup.
No, it's like robots and monsters are like chocolate and peanut butter of things. Like more than chocolate and peanut butter. Yeah. Nah, and I love and it looks over the top, just dumb moments. I love it. Nah, that's really been about it. What about you?
Things have been tense over here. I won't lie to you, Reed.
Yeah. No, tell me about tell me any thoughts you have. I bet you only have like a couple, but tell me.
I bet you're curious as to what I think about what I think about all the things. Okay, so before this episode, there is a disclaimer about politics. Again, this is chance number 2 to go ahead and turn this off. If you think you might be offended in any way by politics, we have lots of other programming content out there. Go for it. Go listen to it. That was your warning. This is going to be long, so if you will bear with me till I get through this, and I will let you know when I finish. But, okay, first of all, this episode of Black Mirror that we're in sucks. I don't like it. I want to go back to a timeline where Al Gore won the fucking election, and now we're all in flying cars. Instead, we're on this timeline. So, okay, deal with it, right? Deal with it, Ryan. So let's talk stay-at-home orders. Most of the country is under one or has been under one for the past 6 to 7 weeks or more at this point. Now, I never thought I'd have to take a stand on whether or not following an executive order to guard against a deadly pandemic was a good idea. But here we are. Here I am putting a stake in the ground saying, yes, it's a good idea. Stay at home, people, because we have all of these protesters who are wanting to ease restrictions early. Guess what? That means we'll have to go right back under another stay-at-home order if the pandemic comes back for a second wave, which it looks like it's going to happen, especially in states that are already opening up. Okay, but apparently this right-wing shadow money has decided to seize the political moment and mobilize the most housebroken and precariously insecure group of MAGA maniacs out there. And I'm talking about this radical, selfish group of protesters who are anti-vaxxers, conspiracy theorists, libertarians, Covidiots, sovereign citizens, dickheads. These fucking assholes have been coming into Raleigh every Tuesday for the last 3 weeks to hold a roving Trump rally under the guises of First Amendment rights, including their sign. You can tell how terrible it is from their signs, needing a haircut and a massage. You know, how have you ever heard of such entitlement? So here's a message to these fucking assholes. You are being inconvenienced, not oppressed. Stop comparing yourselves to the civil rights movement. It is insensitive to people of color. You know, at first I thought, you know, let these assholes just blow off some steam. They can't maintain that level of outrage. But oh no, they vow to be back here every Tuesday that the executive order to stay at home is in place. Well, guess what, Reopen NC? Every week you come back, you look more and more like a goddamn circus full of clowns with walking misdemeanors. And by the way, Reopen NC, you got a big fucking public relations problem too. Well, what do you mean, Ryan? What could you possibly mean by that? Well, let me tell you, this whole goddamn enterprise was started by the quote 3 moms from the rural reaches of the state of North Carolina. One founder tests positive for COVID-19 and may or may not have attended a rally when she was supposed to be in quarantine. Another founder is arrested in front of the governor's mansion for violating an executive order at the encouragement of her husband. And the third one socially distanced herself this week from the whole goddamn shebang by publicly announcing that she left the group because it didn't, quote, align with her goals. What goals? To spread the pandemic quicker, to kill everybody? I mean, I should write a book on how to sabotage a half-assed attempt at starting a shadow-funded AstroTurf movement, because that's exactly how you fuck it up right there. Now, I get it. People are out of work. Today, officially, 1 million people in North Carolina filed for unemployment, and they're saying 200,000 to 300,000 more can't even get into the system because it's overloaded. That is what we should be protesting. We can't access the benefits that we need instead. And that's like 10% of the population of North Carolina, which is like 10.5 million people. I get it. People are struggling. Businesses can't open. It is a goddamn unfortunate shame for everybody. But guess what? Suck it up. Take one for the team. There is a goddamn pandemic going on. Get over yourself. Learn to adapt like the rest of us, because the life you knew before this pandemic, that's called the old normal, and it's gone. And I mean gone forever. There is only a new normal now, and you need to learn to adapt. Instead of wasting your time, embarrassing yourself, and jeopardizing the lives of hundreds of people, including police officers, who have to go out into the street and deal with your hick-ass bullshit every Tuesday. Now, we had an even bigger load of bullshit come into our neighborhood, my neighborhood and your neighborhood, last week on May 1st. An armed paramilitary organization that affiliates itself with this thing called the Big Boogaloo, more on that in a second, organized in front of Oakwood Cemetery in Raleigh to march on the legislature while it was in session, apparently taking a page from the Michigan alt-right white supremacist playbook. Now, I'm not going to say the name of the group, but they are a bunch of Al-Qaeda militia cosplay bullshit. So I wrote a letter to the chief of police, the mayor of Raleigh, North Carolina, the city council's office, and CCing like every news outlet in the state, which is about 60. There's probably more than that, but I got 60 in there. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'm just going to give you a few of the highlights. I told the chief of police in Oakwood neighborhood on the morning of Friday, May 1st, a heavily armed group congregated in front of the gates, and I watched the whole thing unfold from my home via their Facebook live video from the organizer of the group who manages that Facebook page. First, I applaud the patience and professionalism of the officers that had to deal with this group. However, I was just deeply concerned that they were not asked to disperse. Now, I understand that the group was allowed to continue their march unabated to the state legislature from Oakwood, which is about a half a mile, through residential neighborhoods with AK-47s and assault rifles and Glocks on their hip. Just North Carolina's an open carry state. But at what point, when there's 10 people opening, carrying, and marching together, 100 people? This was like 14 people, and then they joined up with even more people later on to march on the legislature. So at what point, at what number do we say, well, that's probably not a good idea? Is it 100? Is it 1,000? I don't know. Now, I understand the group was allowed to continue their march because they were not, quote, protesting, right? So they were like, you can't hold a sign, but you can hold your gun. Well, guess what? They ditched the signs, right? Because I guess they were too cumbersome. But by legal definition, they were, quote, demonstrating, which puts this group in direct violation of General Statute 14-277.2. Now, what does that mean? They have a constitutional right to peacefully demonstrate, but that right is suspended when that person is carrying a firearm. Specifically, the group was having a demonstration on a public place, the sidewalk, which is maintained by a political subdivision of the state, the city of Raleigh. Now, I'm providing the language of the general statute here, and this is what it sounds like. It shall be unlawful for any person participating in, affiliated with, or present as a spectator to a parade, picket line, demonstration on any private health care facility or public place under the control of the state or any of its political subdivisions, willfully or intentionally possessing or have immediate access to any dangerous weapon. End of. And they said if you're not carrying a sign, you're not protesting. Now, I understand that the police did not want to escalate a volatile situation, and I appreciate the care they showed the demonstrators. But what about the people of the neighborhood that were terrorized by these groups of assholes running down the street, playing army man? And if you go to their page, it's like, well, let's look at it this way. Let's say that they were looking at the intent of them. Okay, your intent is not to protest. Okay, well, if their intent is not to protest, then how come in their Facebook event it said, let's see here, let's make this a peaceful protest since Raleigh Police Department have already demonstrated they do not operate under the strict and absolute parameters of the United States Constitution. We will need to be fully armed as a show of force. If communications get jammed, consider it a hostile act. Do not back down to any request or demand to disperse or disarm. I don't know, man. That sounds pretty organized to me. And the name of the fucking thing was called Sic Semper Tyrannis, which is translated from the Latin loosely, thus death to tyrants. Death is implied, but it's thus to tyrants, which is historically known as the phrase that John Wilkes Booth shouted during his assassination of President Abraham Lincoln. And I mean, this group's event was coordinated around a paramilitary rhetoric that the state has overreached its powers in recent weeks, and an armed show of force is the only remedy for that. Now, I understand that these people are looking for a First Amendment right, and you don't want to escalate this in the street. But now they've become emboldened by the amount of press they got because they had news reporters there and they had cameras there, and from being like sort of kiddie handled by the police. I mean, and so I ended the whole thing, this letter, saying on behalf of the citizens of my neighborhood who feel intimidated and terrorized, I hope that you can remedy this situation should it ever arise again. Now, I ask you, Reed, am I out of line at all with anything I said?
Well, I hate to tell you, man, I filled in that position and reopened that lady left. I will now be the PR person. I'm glad I didn't try and write anything because that's better than anything I could have said. I agree with 100% of that. No, dude, because I know it's like a 4-minute drive for me to get to your house. It's like we live so close, and it's like
halfway between us.
It's about halfway.
Yeah, it sort of triangulates a little bit. It's a little out of the way, but it's right in your neighborhood too.
Yeah, man. And I doubt they would come into my neighborhood with their AKs and their fucking rifles, man. Because
you're right. If they had walked west on Jones Street as opposed to east, they would have been in a neighborhood where that shit wouldn't fly for a second.
It's just
so. What do you think about this? I mean, you've thought long and hard about this entitlement of this reopen group and how they're handling things. What do you think about that?
Man, honestly, I wish I haven't thought about this so much. I wish that I have not validated these people's efforts in any way by even being awake at night in my phone looking like at their fucking group, man. It's
which is a fucking shit show.
It is.
They don't have they don't have a unified theme. It is everything anti-democratic. It's anti-democrat. It's anti any like social services or social safety net. They're like, we don't want your handout. We want to work for ourselves. And it's like, Did you send that $1,200 check back that you got?
Yeah, no, right? No, I would like everyone in that group to like voluntarily give that to me. Honestly,
oh man,
I'll take your fucking hand out. I don't give a shit. No, and that's like a really good point. Is that they try and say this is a non-political movement that they're creating, and it clearly is buried up to its neck politically. It's clearly political. They're full of shit about that.
No, you're 100% right. Because this is, and these groups are being organized by grassroots people, but they're being funded by people in other places. Like the reopen.com is not even, it's owned by somebody in Florida.
It's like, yeah, they like sell merch. Like they're just trying to make a nickel off whatever they're doing. They're Benicio del Toro in Star Wars. They don't have a side in it. They're just trying to profit off the whole conflict. You know what I mean? Sorry, I don't know.
No, you're right. They are.
But I have a huge issue with how that arrest is described by Ashley Smith. Because I've seen. How much video have you seen of the arrest?
I've probably seen all of it. I've seen
right.
multiple angles from the security cameras of the guy trying to tear down the gate of the governor's mansion. The guy in the red shirt. Have you seen that?
Right, the one guy who got arrested.
Yeah, and now they separate themselves. Like, oh, he's probably a plant from the left.
Fuck, dude, I haven't seen anything about that. That sounds about right.
It's all part of the rhetoric. They got signs that say investigate 5G on them, walking around.
Man, I barely understand what that. They think that cell phone towers are giving them coronavirus. Is that what? I'm a layman on this.
Apparently, 5G started in China and has expanded to the United States around the same time the coronavirus did. The guy on the video was going, have you ever noticed the way when you put a plant next to a Wi-Fi router, how it withers and dies?
Yeah.
I'm like,
yeah.
What are you talking about, dude?
And this whole, that she was arrested for walking on a sidewalk, like she...
Oh, yeah, back to the footage of Ashley Smith.
She said storm, like that verbiage. She said storm the sidewalk. They were trying to, lift the flag up or whatever. And, also, it's a flag pole. You have, a fucking made in China... handheld flag from Walmart somewhere. You're not going to lift that on a flagpole. I don't know. I think that's bullshit.
Here's the left turn that takes. So she's standing on the street because they have deemed the sidewalk in front of the governor's mansion closed. It's closed to the public. And
they've created a perimeter. It's clear. It's not like it's an open sidewalk. It's like cops one ahead of each other.
Right, lining the sidewalk.
Yeah.
And they said, you cannot be on this sidewalk. And they're like, we paid for this sidewalk. We can be on this sidewalk. Why isn't the governor flying the flags? Well, let me tell you something about that. The State Highway Patrol are the ones that maintain the flags at the governor's mansion. Anytime there's a protest, they take the flags down. But they don't have time to stop and hear that. They just see the governor's not flying the North Carolina flag or the United States flag, so he must be a communist.
And I believe I heard Ashley Smith's husband, I think they kind of threw that bullshit, I'm at a barbecue on the 4th of July flag, at kind of one of the cops, or I'm not sure about that action, but I think he was he let it hit the ground. He's probably an alien. And that, holy shit. That's, all right, and I'm just getting real mad.
Her husband was standing right there egging her on.
Yeah, that's inciting a riot. That's a crime. I don't know.
Yeah, it is. It is a crime, and that's why she was arrested, along with 2 other Karens and some jughead who tried to break through the gate of the governor's mansion.
No, man, that just does a disservice to the character Jughead to call that guy a Jughead. That guy's just a fucking piece of shit.
Oh my God. I hate that they're coming to our town, dude, and doing this every Tuesday. And they did it and the idiots with the guns were down there last Friday, and they're doing it out in the counties now, the reopen Gaston County is in reopened. Surrey County, there's a reopening for almost every 100 counties. There's a reopen movement.
I mean, I'm sick of them coming to my town, man. It's kind of that's. I think I was telling you before, like that's just like the weird. I get like a sense of like this is like my place. Like how dare you come from like Shelby or something? I don't know.
No,
like,
it's all points not Raleigh. These are people who never get to go to the city, and they don't know how to act when they get to a big town, apparently.
And like, oh, dude, I swear to God, Ryan, if I wasn't so fat, I would be the Batman of Raleigh. I would, they would not do that shit here. I would like be on top of a gargoyle.
Would you go
on like Martin Street?
Would you go stand beside the healthcare workers with your full Batman on and a surgical mask?
Yeah, because it's the one part of the mask doesn't cover the mouth. It's right.
Because you couldn't possibly get any hotter in that outfit, could you?
No, I know, right? Like
let that one piece of skin that's exposed around your mouth and face get covered up.
Man, I'm gonna put my glasses on outside of the mask. That way, they're just continuously fogged up. Just
oh my God, man.
No, and like I've legitimately thought about that, honestly, man. I can't come to the place of being like, I think everyone should just be safe and be at home and then just like come out, because clearly they would get in your face, and like I don't want your shitty Siler City germs. Get out of my face. I don't want. No. If
you're listening from Siler City, Reed apologizes immediately, but stay at home. If you're in Siler City,
I have been to many of your cow auctions. They were legitimately. That was a part of me growing up.
It's going to Siler City cow auctions.
For cow auctions.
You know what?
Yeah.
Truthfully, I don't want. I'm turning this around. I don't want them to get sick from anything in Raleigh they might catch. Right?
Yeah, man.
Because we have the second highest rate of infection in the state. Mecklenburg County has like 1,700, and we have like 800, half of that. And it's a hot spot in Mecklenburg, but we still have the second highest in the state. And why would you want to come to that part except for the fact that the governor lives here and the legislature was in session last Tuesday? So that's why they were having such a big stink on the Tuesday.
And that's like why I don't like. They're just so full of shit. Is like, hey, just like their whole part of it is just like everybody just take your own risks. Like if you think you're safe, just to go and like then they want to come to the place where it's the second highest infection rate. Like it's like, can you even be responsible enough to not go somewhere?
Isn't that just born in selfishness?
Yes, I cannot think of a more short-sighted, fucking selfish, self-centered thing.
And isn't it more about them wanting to get their low-wage employees back to work for them than it is about reopening so that they can, have their business again? Because apparently, like all these other businesses are adapting. Like I can go right now, well, maybe not at this time of the night, but anytime tomorrow if I wanted, I can go to Game Theory, go buy a game, walk in the store. I might have to wait outside for it to clear out a little bit. But that's not fucking communism or socialism. That's called epidemiology, and we're applying it because of the common wealth, the common welfare of everybody in North Carolina. We're not doing it to suppress you because George Orwell, freedom. I don't know what.
I'm getting real tired of these people referencing books. I'm like, just don't. You saw the movie. Don't tell me that you're like.
You ever picked up a book?
Don't you ever say Philip K. Dick to me, ever.
No, I've read some of their posts. And like, what's the most offensive is their lack of fucking grammar and spelling.
Yeah, man. And you almost have to decipher it sometimes, dude. Have you had any good trolls in there? Have you
Justin Scranton was killing it, dude. Yeah. Oh my God.
Spotlight on Gorilla Comic. Justin Scranton, he's killing it. Yeah.
So he got booted out pretty fucking quick when it and I didn't save any screenshots, but I got him into the Wake County reopen page, and like I got like 2 or 3 screenshots before they booted him out of that one, and so they were going to organize. Okay, here's what's so fucking crazy. So they did the first one 3 weeks ago on a Tuesday, and 100 people show up. And the cops were like, Okay, you need to disperse. You're in violation of executive order. And one woman, I forget her name, she got arrested. She stood there and put her hands behind her back. She's like, I'm not leaving. They arrest her. Well, she becomes a fucking martyr, and she's a meme now, right? Then through the next week, they decide that someone has anonymously donated 8 private buses that they're going to organize around the state, from Wilmington, from Winston-Salem, from Greensboro, from Charlotte, from Asheville, from all these places around the state. All you have to do is be in a certain place at a certain time, and they'll pick you up. They're going to cram into a car. And I'm like, well, every time they cross a county line, the fucking sheriff should be right there going, sorry, can't come in. Executive order. You guys are violating it because you're fucking 25 people, 30 people in a fucking van, in a private vehicle. This is not public transportation. It's a private vehicle. You're not supposed to have that many people in a vehicle if you are not related. That was one fucking thing. So then they said, oh, the buses are canceled. And then they showed the buses that lined up on Capitol Boulevard. And then people drove in their private cars, went by and picked people up, and then drove them to the site. So they did have buses there. They had fucking buses, Reed.
Yeah, man. Well, I thought there was a post where somebody was like, it turns out, guys, due to social distancing, we could only get like 9 people on a bus.
No.
So
that was bullshit. That was
okay.
That was a smoke screen. That was a total smoke screen. They totally had buses there. Shipping people. They had fucking buses, dude. God.
I just remember someone had a post where they were like, just being like, I will purposely not be wearing a mask outside. And then I got like that gif of like, it's that dude in the metal mask from Mad Max who has like the megaphone.
Right.
You know, it was just like, I was like, this is the only mask I'm going to wear out when I go out and own the libs. Or like, I don't know, it was just like.
So they were announcing the buses, and Justin pipes in. This is back to Justin again.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. Yeah. Justin pipes in and says, so what's the deal? Do I get a seat on this thing or what? That was his post. And somebody replied, oh, I don't think you'll have to sit in anybody's lap. Sure, you'll get a seat. And he's like, I don't need no lap dance because I'll stand up the whole way. I stand for Jesus. Praise Jesus. That was his reply. And then I just replied, prayer hand, prayer hand, prayer hand. Well, dude, he was doing that on.
Do you think that's what got him kicked out?
On every post. It was something just insane. No, because it went on for like 2 or 3 days. Because I was like, hey, dude, I hit him up on Messenger. I was like, hey, man, I see you in there trolling. He's like, man, this is tiring. This is exhausting. I'm like, oh, it's so funny. And then and then when I found out he got kicked out, he didn't have any of the screenshots. I was so sad he got kicked out. But Reed, people are being yelled at in stores for wearing masks. They're being called communists. People are like when my friend Christy was standing outside of Trader Joe's waiting to get in, because they were doing the 25% of capacity before they allow people to get in, and somebody drove by in a truck, and from the back of it with a PA system called them all socialists and communists, and that there will be a day of reckoning, and just like driving through the parking lot yelling at them.
Man, if you have like that kind of time, like apply to some remote work. Dude, this is what you would say to me if I was trying to achieve my dreams while not having a job. Like, that's the shittiest. God damn it. Like, this is the thing. It's like, everyone's just like, no, I'm out of work. It's like, just like, find another gig. Just like, I'm sorry that you like probably got this license maybe or something to do a thing. I don't know, man.
No, I get it, man. I understand people are mad because they can't be doing the thing that they want to be doing because that's the thing they've always done, right?
Right.
And but here's another thing too, is that people have tied up their personalities and their self-worth to a paycheck. People don't when people meet each other, it's like, well, what do you do? It's like the third thing out of their mouth besides what's your name and where you're from is what do you do? And it's like when I lived in Europe, man, when I lived in Switzerland for like 2.5 years, I met people over there. I have no idea what they did because they never talked about their work. It was like nobody talked about work. Nobody cared about it because it wasn't part of their identity. It was just something they did. Right. So people have got all this time, energy, and self-worth bound up into like, this is who they are. And now they can't do that anymore. They can't like pull for their favorite sports team because they got an identity wrapped up in some fucking logo and color, like 2 colors, a home color and away color. I'm not shitting on sports, but come on, people. It's an existential crisis. And this is what's happening, and it makes me mad that people can't like buckle up and get the fucking work done that you can do because there's plenty of jobs out there, man. If people want to go to work right now, every grocery store in the area is hiring. Instacart is hiring, Target, Walmart. And then they go, well, they're above that, or that's not the work I want to do. It's oh man, it's this late stage draconian capitalist facade that's slowly crumbling around people. And it's old white men who are losing their grip. They're losing their grip again. And what happens when people start losing power is they start getting angry.
Man, that's and I get what you say about, man, I'm glad that's something I've had to deal with since this whole started is I feel like I had my own identity wrapped up in it doing this thing that like wasn't like a paycheck. So it's like, that's the biggest difference in it. But like, I've had to like, nah, man, I've been like, well, what do I do? What's my like worth?
But your life,
what do I put back into the thing?
But your life has been comedy too, and you haven't been able to do that. But you found another outlet. You're now doing this web comic. You're doing research on a book that you're hoping to turn into a screenplay. I mean, it's like you've got these outlets and these things that you're trying to adapt with, and you're putting your creative energy into that, as opposed to standing on the fucking street in my town yelling about some constitutional law that you have a very short-sighted understanding of to begin with.
Well, let's be honest here. There's not a lot of creative energy in these people. Like that's not like being artists isn't like the top of their thing.
Well, I mean, at one point I felt a little sorry for them because I'm like, you people have been misinformed and you are just misunderstanding because you have been drip fed this vitriol of Rush Limbaugh and Fox News and Roger Stone and Republican talking points and Glenn Beck and Alex Jones and all of this crazy, and you've created this entire echo chamber system that just continues to blast on this feedback loop to the point that it's driven you into the fucking streets. And I'm like, well, I feel bad for them. And then somebody said to me, there's actually a difference between being misinformed and being willfully ignorant. Because at some point you have to choose to say, is this real? Is this proper? Is this how civil people react? Because now imagine if every one of those people were black.
Yeah.
If those guys carrying guns if those 11 guys carrying guns down the street dressed in camo were black.
It's the most privileged shit I can think of, man. It's like, I can't like black people did that in the 60s and the world changed. You know what I mean? Like legislation was passed, like NRA alliances changed, like fucking. Right. And you cannot tell me that was not because of their skin color. And that's why I cannot believe people are trying to equate this to like the civil rights era. And it was in the 30s when neighborhoods of African Americans were fucking given syphilis and fucking experimented on. And that was in 1932.
And the fact, and if you watch those old footages, people are getting the hose turned on them. They're getting dogs sicked on them. But no, these are white people yelling at cops in cops' faces, white people walking down the street with semi-automatic assault weapons. If those were black people, man, you know what would happen? They would lose the police would lose their mind. Yeah,
and it's cops that are. From the footage I saw, a lot of them are people of color, and they are getting specifically racial things yelled in their face.
I've been talking with a biostatistician because I've been doing an update for like 40 days. I did an update of a chart where it would tracked all the cases and number of hospitalizations, and I would write an abstract every night. And I'm not doing it anymore because it ate up so much of my time for 40 days.
I was wondering if you were like, that's what I kind of felt with the comic. I was like, this was fun, but now I'm like, is this my job now? Is this...
So I was doing that, and so like a lot of people reached out to me, biostatisticians. I got a job offer.
That's dope.
Which is crazy, and I'm like, I do public relations is my thing, and that's my wheelhouse. I'm like, I can make your numbers look pretty if you need to get a point across. But however, so this biostatistician, she's chatting with me. We get to know each other online. We're sharing articles and just nerd stuff. And she's like, and her husband's a cop. He's a Raleigh detective, but because there's not much crime happening now, because everybody is staying at home, he has been moved to the riot squad because of the protests. So now he has to go out and risk his life every Tuesday or on a Friday, like they did this past Friday. And she said that like it's affecting every cop. Like these cops have kids at home and they're afraid that coming into contact with these maniacs in the street, they're going to contract something and then bring it home to their kids.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's
Reed. Can we save this podcast? Can we get out? Can we like pull this up out of a nosedive of?
I think we've gone pretty negative for a while. But like this is kind of about the same thing, but also kind of a joke. Is like, yeah, like it's in like the Holocaust. This is being
the way that they compare it to the Holocaust. Like they'll show
Holocaust.
They'll put a picture of Anne Frank up and be like, she died because people were just following orders. And it's like, well, have you seen the other meme that says, yeah, but she also stayed at home for 745 days or ever how long she did. You're complaining because you can't go to Starbucks.
And like, he wants to be like a moral issue. Like, what's like a fucking moral issue is like if there were multiple Santa Paws movies made. There were millions and millions and millions of dollars were like made to make these holiday-centric dog movies that could have fed children or housed people or done anything. Like that's fundamentally wrong to me. Like that's like you can. Jesus Christ! This isn't like
they rebooted Holocaust. Arthur and they made Russell Brand Arthur.
Yeah, there'd be like I guess people having to like if people are like talking about having to have identification cards,
right?
Being like stars of data, it's just like, dude, like I got pad thai delivered to my house.
Oh, you must be oppressed because you couldn't go out and get it for yourself.
Yeah, no, like I could still get fucking chicken pad thai with no peanuts because I'm allergic to that shit, and but no problem. Like this isn't the Holocaust.
Could you imagine when they must have rolled out like Social Security cards for the first time?
Oh man,
or
right?
like a driver's license with a picture on it. How people went nuts about that too. I mean, I would imagine it's the same people, just decades apart. Bitching about the same privilege that they're. Oh my God, Reed.
It's like a lineage. It's just like generations of fucking idiots. It's like all the like people that like the Greeks would have like thrown off a cliff when they were a baby. Like they just made it the whole way, and now they're like complaining about not being able to get a haircut and shit.
We will sacrifice you to Mount Vesuvius for democracy. Oh my goodness! But I mean, I'm glad you're still able to laugh, though, Reed.
Yeah.
So let's switch gears drastically and talk about how comedy has tried to make all of these changes recently. This whole podcast now, and if you are just joining us after our political rant, you are at the 41st minute of the podcast. You are clear to listen here forward. There will be very little, if any, politics to talk about from here on out.
Are you going to put like a liner note for this episode?
Yeah, there'll be a liner. At the very front of the disclaimer, I'll say you could skip ahead to 41st minute 42nd minute if you want to be safe and not hear our political opinions.
Yes. So anyway, that's why I think the government totally killed Billy Mays. But yeah, no, let's talk about what's going on in the world of comedy.
And
right?
Steve Irwin.
Yeah, Steve Irwin. They planted that manatee, manta ray or whatever.
They trained him for years to do that. Yeah, it was China. Trained a manta ray.
Stingray had clearance. That Stingray had met aliens.
We'll
talk about that later.
Some say he had a laser on his head.
Do these Stingrays have lasers? Yeah.
So we're talking about how the pandemic affects everything and how we need to adapt. And we're talking about adapting is for comedians, and like a lot of comedians are still, even though the venues are closed, musicians and actors have been taking everything to the internet. And so comedians are making that jump as well. But, it's a lot different because when a musician performs a song, for instance, that's sort of self-contained enough that they don't require like people to actually participate in the actual show like laughter does for comedians. And cracking a joke without an audience to laugh is like a completely different story. And so you and I are reading the same. Sorry, go ahead.
So yeah, I'm honestly scared of it
because you're gonna do it tomorrow for the first time, right?
No, I've done the roast thing, especially once. I've done like 2 or 3 like open mics.
Yeah.
Via Zoom or whatever. But it's I don't know. It's almost unsettling. It's weird. I don't know. It's different.
That you don't have those laughs there.
Yeah.
Because you don't know how it landed. Was it funny? Do I need to change that? So I guess you would take like cues from your fellow comedians. And I know how much comedians love advice from other comedians.
Yeah.
But like in this article that you and I were both reading, so Chris Newberg, who's based in Los Angeles, I think he was originally from Michigan, does a show on Facebook Live for like 300 to 1,000 different viewers. And he says, I just try to approach it knowing that whoever is there and actually watching the thing, that they're enjoying it. And so Mark Ridley, who owns and operates the Comedy Castle in Royal Oak, which has been closed since mid-March, adds that, this whole thing kind of throws your timing off. You don't know where the laughs are, how long they'll be. It's hard to gauge the success of the joke, which is the biggest challenge. And most comedians live paycheck to paycheck, so this is killing their industry as well. And they need to keep their names out there to keep, you guys got to keep your names out there to keep your chops up, right? I mean,
yeah. No, I've been worried about being kind of atrophied a little bit and kind of, but I feel like I want to do it so bad. I think that'll be kind of quick.
Yeah.
Quickly overcome, but I don't know at all. I mean, Good Nights, I did yesterday. Andy Forrester, like Good Nights has been doing these kind of virtual shows.
Yeah.
Through Helium, like the Helium website. And it was like Andy Forrester, and there was like a pencil drawing kind of class, but it was like him and Shane Smith and Louis Bishop.
Cool.
And it was I don't know, it's different. It had a real Bob Ross vibe, not really. But
I would be interested to know like what the pull is, like how many people they're able to access through that. If people are interested in, because obviously if there's an opportunity in every sort of crisis, right? Like never let a crisis go to waste, I think is the saying.
Yeah.
Where you now have an opportunity to get in front of people that you normally wouldn't get in front of because they can be anywhere and tune in when something happens or when you're doing a show rather. And so it's different. It's just different, and it's a matter of adapting. And I think comics are also grappling with the subject matter of like the current situation. I think we talked about this on the last podcast, is specifically how much to joke about a lethal pandemic. Right. It's like, because you don't necessarily want to write a quarantine or lockdown that's, figured that you figured everybody's written that joke. Like, I bet everybody's thought of that one. Right.
Right.
So now it's a matter of figuring out how to position that joke that is sort of tangentially associated with pandemic, but it might be about your relationship with your wife, or it might be,
right,
how hard it is to get peanuts off your pad thai or whatever,
Because I swear to God, if I hear like a Corona, like the beer joke, I don't even know how, but I will produce a grenade. Like I will like shit it out. I don't know how it's going to happen, but I will throw it.
Like the golden goose.
Yeah.
Except it's grenades.
Yeah. Well, I feel like a lot of my stuff, if I ever get to do comedy again, is it's going to be kind of like how a lot of like coming off of a honeymoon just into a quarantine. Like I feel like it's, I don't know.
I know we got a cat like right before the quarantine, a new cat. Charlie passed away, and we got Bob, and so Bob is like, wow, you guys here all the time?
Yeah. No.
Those other people left for, hours at a time. You guys are still here.
Does he like the attention, or is he like?
He was never socially. No, he's a project. He's very swipey and hissy at our other cat, the Honorable Governor Roy Cooper.
Oh, Roy Cooper.
And
see, that's what's been pissing me off. Sorry, the most is I keep thinking these people are referring to your cat, Ryan, and I'm like, you don't say those things
about Ryan's cat.
About Ryan's cat.
It's a good kitty. But
he's a chunky boy, and you would be lucky to pick him up.
We have renewed our love of Roy because he is such a delight and wants nothing but your love all the time. And Bob is the other end of that spectrum. However, he needs love too, and we have been showing him the most love that we possibly can. And he's really in the best hands. He's probably the best situation that he's ever been in. And you can tell just by how every day he comes around a little bit better.
That's good.
Yeah. But let's shift gears yet once again, shall we? And slide on over to punk music. And this first topic that we're going to talk about is less about punk and more about punk musician and science and UFOs. So Tom DeLonge. Oh, Tom DeLonge. So you first heard it here on this podcast when we broke the news. I was just reading from an article that Tom DeLonge, as I call him, it might be DeLonge, I don't know.
I was going to say, I've always heard DeLonge, but I was just going to let you go.
Sure, why not? So
let you go with it.
So old Tom, the former frontman for Blink 182, created a
Where are you, sir?
He created a UFO research organization called To the Stars Academy. And in 2017, 2018, the Navy had published these videos that somehow To the Stars Academy got access to those through the Freedom of Information Act, showing that there were UFOs. And we talked about this. This was back in 2017, 2018. We talked about it last year. So Tuesday, April 28th, the Pentagon has officially released these 3 short videos showing unidentified aerial phenomena that has previously been only released by the private company To the Stars Academy, admitting that, yes, these are unidentified aerial phenomena. Now, the videos show what appear to be unidentified flying objects rapidly moving while recorded by infrared cameras, and 2 of the videos contain service members flying, reacting in awe about how quickly the objects are moving, and one speculates that it could be a drone. And then the Navy had previously acknowledged the videos in September of last year, and they had to acknowledge it because it was just out in the public domain so much. And now they are officially releasing them now in order to, quote, clear up any misconceptions by the public on whether or not the footage has been circulating was real or not, to say, yeah, and so the Pentagon spokesperson says, after a thorough review, the department has determined that the authorized release of these unclassified video does not reveal any sensitive capabilities or systems, and it does not impinge on any investigations of military airspace incursions. However, this is unidentified aerial phenomenon. Now, on any other timeline, at any other point in the year 2020 or 2019, this would be headline news.
Dude, this is crazy, man.
This would like rip the fabric of the universe apart. That we have that a punk musician who left Blink-182 sometime in like 2015 left to go.
Imagine the validation you would feel. Like, can you imagine it would be so good.
I told you so.
You would wake up every morning and crack the Tupperware on that, like, so hard.
Just to get a big whiff of that. I told you so.
Yeah.
Oh, it smells so good.
I was aliens. Not we are aliens. I was aliens.
So, like, Tom DeLonge just had a huge history with aliens, or at least he has always thought that there were aliens, and even since 1999, he had "Aliens Exist," a song, one of the featured singles from his album "Enema of the State." And I think the lyrics go like, "I know the CIA would say what you hear is all hearsay. I wish someone would tell me what was right." That's kind of the thing, and it's a real ugly tune. But he also has like other space theme songs as well.
Do you think that was? Yeah. Do you think that's a weird point of contention with him and his other bandmates?
Well, I mean, okay. So flash forward to 2015, right? When he leaves Blink-182, in the original statement by the remaining band members quoted that a week before the band was scheduled to go in the studio, DeLonge's manager emailed the group explaining that he would rather work on non-musical endeavors for the foreseeable future. The quote. Non-musical endeavors for the foreseeable future, meaning that he wanted to leave Blink-182 to go hunt UFOs.
That's wild, dude. Like that is a band that like owned my era of high school. That's crazy. They'd be like, nah, aliens, dog.
So now let's move to more on Tom DeLonge. Let's move to February 2015. So there's an article he did with Paper Mag, and he recounted a time when he was camping at a secret base on a secret air base on the flight path to Area 51, and he was told by shutting down his mind and projecting his thoughts that he would be able to achieve extraterrestrial communication. He said he woke up at 3 a.m. and he felt this strange phenomenon. He said, quote, "My whole body felt like it had static electricity. It sounded like there were about 20 people there talking. And instantly my mind goes, okay, they're at our campsite, but not here to hurt us. They're talking about shit, but I can't make out what they're saying, but they're working on something."
Holy shit. Can you imagine, like, being a dude whose, like, whole, like, existence and, like kind of, like sense of worth came from, like, playing 3 chords. And then, like, he becomes, like, the alien Doctor Strange, like, at a campfire somewhere. Like, that's his evolution somehow. He wrote the song about not wearing pants. And then, like, fucking became, like, the leading person in Aliens.
He became the alien whisperer, right?
Yeah, that's insane. Like, this is the biggest come up. Like, this is incredible.
Right. So then, like, later on that year in 2015, he becomes the founder and president and CEO of To the Stars Academy of Arts and Sciences, who was the company that actually, the mission was to be a powerful vehicle for change by creating a consortium among science, aerospace, and entertainment that will work collectively to allow gifted researchers the freedom to explore exotic science, whatever that is, and technologies with the infrastructure and resources to rapidly transition them to products that can change the world. That is an awesome mission statement. That is incredible. And he took that.
I really like that.
And he actually built it because it was based on the frustration of government secrecy on the topics of space and the greater universe. And so that company was the company that, through the Freedom of Information Act, obtained the video that the Navy released, and then later the Pentagon confirmed that it was actually UFOs. Crazy, man.
Damn. That's insane. That's just the validation. Like, I can't believe he was in such, like, kind of, like, tight communication with, like, actual, kind of, like, members of the government.
Yeah, they said he had clearance.
That's crazy, dude. Like, this would never happen with a guy from, like, Taking Back Sunday. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, like, that would never happen.
What about Insane Clown Posse?
Those guys are in the government. Those guys are aliens, actually. I don't know if you know that or not.
Oh, no. Oh, man.
Yeah, they're like actually like a form of like the two aliens from The Simpsons. They've taken on the form of the insane clown of what's his name? The one that's about stabbing and like, yeah.
That guy.
Shaggy J and whatever, those guys.
Oh, juggalos are aliens. I love it, man. So more stuff in punk. Okay, this is about GWAR.
Right.
Now, we have talked about GWAR on this podcast before, and for listeners who might be joining us for the first time, welcome. First of all, we don't normally get this political. If you're joining us at the beginning, from the very beginning of the program, it's not always going to be like that. We just had to get some shit off our chest.
If you're like politically different, you have like 30 minutes in this podcast. You have like a real quick. If you have like a 30-minute commute, you're set.
You are so set. Secondly, GWAR is one of our favorite bands to watch perform, and we have mentioned them in many episodes. They're an American heavy metal band, and this is if you're not familiar with GWAR. They were formed in Richmond, Virginia in 1984, and they were composed and operated by a rotating lineup of musicians and artists and filmmakers collectively known as Slave Pit Incorporated. Now, you can always tell GWAR by their distinctively grotesque costumes. Their core thematic and visual concept revolves around elaborate science fiction theme mythology, which portrays the band members as this barbaric interplanetary warriors, a narrative which serves as the basis for all of the band's albums, every video, every live show, and all their media. It is rife with over-the-top, violent, sexual, scatological humor, typically incorporating social and political satire. And GWAR has attracted acclaim and controversy for its music and stage shows, which notoriously showcase enactments of graphic violence that result in the audience being sprayed with copious amounts of fake blood, urine, and semen. The stagecraft is shock rock at the highest level. You and I have been to GWAR. We have seen this firsthand, correct?
Yeah. No, man, we still have the shirts. We didn't buy there. We brought there, and then they got GWAR'd.
White shirts that are now pink,
yeah.
covered in GWAR blood. So, first of all, a disclaimer before we play this next clip. We're going to play it. We do not in any way condone the ingestion, absorption, or injection of disinfectants. It is irresponsible to condone doing those things. However, GWAR released a public service announcement video saying that they're happy to hear that President Trump recommended the use of disinfectant as a cleaner and apparent miracle cure. So let's listen to it, shall we? Here is Jizmak Dagusha, the drummer of GWAR, his PSA on disinfectants.
Hey everybody, it's Jizmak of GWAR coming at you with another PSA for the COVID-19. It was really great to hear our president and America say that it was okay to, use bleach as a cleaner or as a drug. I mean, GWAR's been using it as a drug forever. So, this is the stuff. You can inhale it. That's a fun way. You can try to smoke it, shoot it. Obviously, drink it is the best. That's what I like to do. You just get the big old bottle and just chug away. So, if you want to stay safe with COVID-19, drink bleach, shoot it, smoke it, like I said before. GWAR does it all the ways. All right, people, be safe, but stay sick.
What you can't see there, too, is that he's drinking from, when he's going glub, 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 he's drinking from a gallon of Clorox bleach. We do not in any way condone the ingestion, absorption, or injection of disinfectants. It is irresponsible to condone it. However, we had to play this by GWAR. And obviously you can smoke it, you can shoot it, you can obviously drink it. But be safe.
Yeah, but don't do it unless it feels good. You know?
And also in the video too, he's holding up Lysol with Clorox, and I'm like, that's an interesting choice. They got both main disinfectants in one shot there. You know?
Oh man, the funniest thing is I feel like this is the closest I feel like I could come to relating to Trump, because like this is like sounds like something I would say. It'd be like, well, it'd be like like, well, you could the disinfects in the inside and the lights. I'm just saying light 5 times.
You know, somebody had called it like the Trump's daily improv exercise, but he's really like open micing, isn't he? He's like throwing bits out there. He's like, you know, what if we like inject it, you know, or smoke it, or you know.
No, I feel like he hasn't. I wish he would respect the light.
What's serendipitous too is I got an email. I'm on the GWAR newsletter list today. It said, "Human scum. GWAR is pleased to announce a special 30th anniversary Scum Dogs of the Universe box set. Pre-order your copy," and it gives the link. Scum Dogs box, and this limited edition release of Scum Dogs of the Universe has been completely remixed, remastered, and perfected by Ronan Chris Murphy. And hear GWAR's classic breakout album, the way the Scum Dogs intended the listeners to hear it. That is available now for your ear holes. Read. Free plug for GWAR. Why not, man? They earned it, right? I mean,
I'm forever in debt to my like alien overlords.
I mean, aren't they really like that perfect little Venn diagram of like metal and like the wit and the anti-establishment of punk, and this beautiful performance art that they put on every show.
Yeah.
I mean, it really, you can't describe to people what it's like. They just have to go to it.
It's like it's like so smart to be this dumb. You know what I mean? It's like
it's a lot of work too. It's a lot of work, you know, to try to put on that show, because their outfits are insanely elaborate, made out of foam, like these big foam core things, and then at the end they like take pieces off of them and then assemble like a mecha GWAR thing, and then they feed a person into it at the end, and it chops them up and then spits blood out of everybody. It's so good.
Yeah, it's like fans, and like it's just they're wearing foam and thongs, and I think that's the bravest thing you can do. It's just like it's men wearing thongs and foam, and I could not back that more. It sounds kind of weird, but like just go with it.
No, glad it's not me.
No, I would not want to be like Beefcake the Mighty or something. The Mighty. That's probably who I would be the most. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, let's roll into games, man. Let's keep this podcast moving as best as we can. Talk about games. So you said that you have just completed like 4 or 5 games, like played all the way through.
I mean, it seems like they were kind of short internet. Do you know anything about like the BioShock series?
Yeah, I'm familiar with it.
Oh yeah. So I don't know. I'd never played any of them. And actually, I started playing the Infinite first, and I went back and I just started playing the first one, and it was really good. I like that personalized kind of upgrades. First person. It's a weird world. I like it.
How big is the world compared to like Red Dead Redemption?
Oh, I mean, it's not really open world like Red Dead is. You're kind of guided along. I mean, there's like maps and stuff. There's like a slight exploration component to it, but it's mainly kind of like a RPG first person shooter, I guess.
Yeah, I was reading some reviews of BioShock earlier, and it said that like people feel that the second BioShock out of the 3 was like the best gameplay of the series. Did you feel that too?
Yeah, honestly, I totally agree. I think they added some aspects to 3 that I think, or not 3, it's Infinite, but you know what I mean. It's that made it a little more complicated than it should have been.
Yeah.
And kind of took away from it. But yeah, 2 was, I agree. 2 was great. I understood why people like this game, like the whole series, kind of. And it's an interesting story. There's a whole mind fuck in Infinite that like throws it all back to the first game because you think that's not connected to the. I don't want to spoil anything.
Yeah, don't spoil it for people. So you also finished Witcher 3?
Yeah, I finished the main story. I still have like the DLCs to do, but honestly, they're just like not really as good as the main story.
Yeah, and is it a pretty big world as well?
Oh yeah, it's huge. I don't know. I like it's very like it's like decision heavy. There was one thing one mission I didn't do that I feel like made me kind of in the end fail entirely as a character. You know what I mean? It was like everything went good except for this like tyrannical king who still is in power and like non-humans like witches and I don't know, people like you are being like marginalized and it's your fault. Here's our credits. I don't know. It's like I love it. It's like such a good game, but
well, people say that it's like I was reading a review that said it's shockingly cohesive world, is demanding, beautiful, packed full of mature content that throws you from one emotional response to the next. Does that sound fair?
Oh yeah, totally. It's you'll like make seemingly small decisions that end up like costing characters' lives.
Oh wow.
Kind of terribly.
A butterfly.
But yeah, it's very much a butterfly effect. In like BioShock is kind of similar in that way, but it's kind of more of a like kind of guided decision based system. You know what I mean? Like it's like kind of more it's like one or two ways, and like The Witcher kind of really branches off into different possibilities of things. But like BioShock, it's like either choose this or don't one time, and you get the good or bad ending. But
well, it's got a ranking of I just looked it up. It's got a ranking of 10 out of 10 on Steam, and
wow,
like a 9 out of 10 on GameSpot.
I feel like 10 out of 10 is like really hard. I feel like that's 10 out of 10 for a reason. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, you were playing another good game too that got rave reviews back in the day, which is Doom.
Oh yeah, and 2016 apparently is like a whole reboot of the whole thing, and it's my first Doom game, and it's stupid fun.
Is that Doom Eternal? Is that?
No, Doom Eternal just came out.
Okay.
I'm playing the one from 2016. It was like $8 on the PlayStation Store one day, and I was like, I don't know, I would like to shoot demons in hell, and for $8, that seems worth it. And it's been like really fun. It's just mad violent, and it's got a pretty good kind of industrial, but kind of like gent metal backdrop kind of musically to the whole thing.
Yeah. And people are saying that like it's a portal to hell, but also a time machine to 1993.
It does kind of. There are aspects like you can find collectibles within the game that like unlock like past Doom maps, I think.
Oh
so
wow!
It's like kind of remasters of those like maps from like the first 2 or 3 games.
Oh, cool, man! And you said one more game, like Uncharted.
Uncharted, yeah, I played the first Uncharted. There's like 5 of them. I don't know, but it's like a classic PlayStation. It's done by like Naughty Dog, who does like the Crash Bandicoot series.
Oh wow!
You're familiar with?
Yeah, and this is like from 2007. This is like the most old school that you've been doing lately, right?
Yeah, but it was like very. I mean, it was pretty remastered. It looks fine, but no, it does. The controls feel very much like this is like a 13-year-old video game.
Oh, what does that mean? Like, I'm not a video gamer, so it's difficult for me to like. What is it? How do the controls feel like a 13-year-old?
It's not as kind of intuitive. I feel like, you know what I mean? I feel like controls have kind of gotten more like this is, I don't know anything about making video games. I don't know if they like test people to see how they're most likely to. It's just, there's things you're like, what am I doing wrong? That you have to like look up, and you're like, that's what I'm supposed to do. Like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? You're just
and you're like, how am I gonna do that? Like, you mean like manually do it, right?
Yeah, exactly. It like, I don't know. It'll like, no, there was like a little slot in the wall you're supposed to go up to, and it'll go into it. You're like, why am I supposed to know that? This is just like an open space. But apparently, I started the second one. I've barely gotten past the first kind of part. But like, again, I got it through like PlayStation Plus for free. It's like, that's how I played all the BioShocks, where like it was like all three of them were.
Oh wow! So you really blew the dust off of that one, didn't you?
Oh yeah.
Well, I've been playing D&D still. We've just been playing over Roll20, and if for those of you who haven't heard us mention Roll20 before, it's a website that has like a set of tools for playing tabletop role-playing games, also referred to as a virtual tabletop. It allows dungeon masters to pull up maps and to give every player their own tokens. You can put your character sheet in there. So like when you say, I want to attack with my sword, I just click on my sword and it rolls these virtual dice across the thing, and it sounds like dice hitting a table. You can also opt out for the 3D effect, and so it just does a number. And then in the chat window, it'll give the number that you rolled, plus any of your modifiers from your strength or your dexterity or what have you. So it becomes very, very much more quick to play, because you're if you already know how your character sheet works and where you're looking for stuff and you're already familiar with all of that, you just click on it and it moves very quickly. I think people move faster when you're not all sitting around facing each other and sort of socializing a little bit and hemming and hawing and taking verbal cues from each other, or visual cues from each other. And the Roll20 also has this really cool feature called Fog of War. So like if my character doesn't have dark vision and can't see in the dark, then I have to light a torch, and I can only see where the torch is taking me. And all of the people who have dark vision can see wherever I can't, but when I bring the torch in, their vision starts getting bad. Oh
wow, that's like so sensitive that's really cool.
It is very cool, and it doesn't. And so like, because you're doing Fog of War, it doesn't map. So you can't go back and from it's all from sort of like a very bird's eye point, from a map plotting standpoint from the top down, and you can't see where you've been. So you kind of have to remember, okay, which door was that? And because when you're playing on a tabletop, the DM's either drawn the map out for you already, or he reveals it a little piece at a time. And then when you're not there, and then when you're at the end of it, you're like, oh well, let's just go back this way. The way that you can see as a player, but you can't do that with this, and that's one of the things that makes it fun. Plus, it's just cool to talk to everybody, and just engage with people for like 3 hours and not talk about. And if we do talk about the pandemic, it's usually like, I drink a potion of Lysol. It's like you're dead. You're dead.
Well, it's time to cut into your. I don't know. Yeah, so I'm not trying to like.
No. Go ahead.
Interrupt or anything, but like that's what like me and Dusty and my friend Pat McLeod. That's kind of we've been doing some Zoom kind of like us all playing Super Nintendo at the same time.
Oh, cool.
Done some recordings. We only like I feel like one that I feel like it's like kind of worthy of showing, but yeah, man, I. It's nice to talk to people again, kind of that. I don't know. It's you actually found this really cool article, and that's for the need for video games to be more social platforms first, and then be a game second, especially now that we're in this new normal with the pandemic. And so as we continue to have these sort of distant relationships with people where we're, alone together through some sort of video mechanism or audio mechanism, we need more creative ways to feel present with each other. And so this looks like a huge opportunity for the gaming industry. I mean, it's one more like transcendent digital social experience, something that you're able to do with
with friends without actually being there. Now, if unfortunately virtual reality never delivered on its early promises, because if it had, could you imagine us all being home with VR right now and actually like hanging out in somebody's living room, or you know what I mean, and like feeling like you were there, and that you look over there and they're over there, and being able to interact with them and hear them and be it all immersive. I mean, you said that you always felt like VR was like black market or what? What did you say about it?
Sorry. I feel like I've only known a couple people who have like kind of a VR setup in their homes, and I was like, what is this PlayStation or something? And it's like something else, I don't know. And I'm like, where did you get this? Is this like illegal? I don't know. If, I didn't know if it was like black market or something.
National security.
Like, what did you like get this out of a suitcase somewhere? I want to know.
And are you rich? Only rich people have stuff like this.
Right. And I feel like that's probably more in like kind of like in accordance to your kind of upbringing of gaming, because I feel like a lot of like when I play video games, I'm a big just like story based like campaign
role play,
kind of single player kind of guy. I don't really like I've dabbled a little bit in the Battlefront 2 Star Wars multiplayer online thing, and I definitely don't want to talk to people on it. I'm like really bummed out whenever I can hear like 14-year-olds over whatever I'm playing. But because I feel like I like kind of like the action adventure kind of. But I think that's a good point. I probably need to like incorporate a more social aspect.
We're talking about virtual, right? And if the pandemic has shown us anything, like there's a sweet spot for mainstream virtual presence that might be something more than just a Zoom-like video conference, but less full-on virtual reality experience. There needs to be something that's sort of a middle ground there, that's where you don't have to something that's easy to put on, easy to wear, that's not so immersive that it's just like emotionally overwhelming. And video games, or more specifically video games as platforms, seem to be resonating right now, even among the kinds of people who wouldn't normally identify as gamers. And I think that last bit is very important too. Is like these are people who are coming to it because they want a way to hang out with other people, and they know that the way to do that, as opposed to doing a boring old Zoom call or Google Hangout, is to play a game. And I think, if anything, Fortnite has shown us how you can. And I think Animal Crossing is another game too.
Animal Crossing, yeah.
Well, I think Animal Crossing has brought a lot of non-gamers to the fold as well, according to a lot of these articles I'm reading. And like Fortnite is like, it's fun, it's addictive, but but it's a lot more than that, because there's this like real innovation in the way that they've integrated this social layer that seamlessly connects players across platforms. And as long as if you can talk to a friend into downloading an app, you're in business, right? I mean, you can start playing. Right. And they've really sort of like seized on this idea of creating this. Well, most recently, they've created a deliberately chill game mode called Party Royale. Normally they have the Battle Royale Fortnite, which is everybody's fighting each other. But the Party Royale is a new island. They just made it. They made it like this past week. It's just for hanging out with friends, and it's littered with like these zany non-lethal weapons like throwable hamburgers and paintball guns, and like you can kick soccer balls at people, or you can kick soccer balls with people. This guy in this article said he kicked 20 minutes. He kicked soccer balls with this guy for a total stranger for 20 minutes.
That's awesome.
Or just drive ATVs off into the virtual precipice or whatever. So Fortnite is really like, and this is Epic Games, which is based out here just outside of Raleigh.
Right. It's like Cary or something. Is that?
Yeah, it's out in Cary. Yeah. And the game is mainly about killing people, but this guy, the Travis Scott, performer, I think
I've heard of that guy.
He held he had a game and held it. He held his concert in Fortnite and performed as this skyscraper tall Travis Scott, who stormed around the bucolic version of this Fortnite rap map. 12 million people tuned into that on Fortnite. 12 million people.
I mean, just like the overlap of different industries involved in that's crazy.
Yeah, the ability for like musician to say, hey, we got an audience in Fortnite. Why don't we just, get our audience to come to us through this virtual platform? What a great idea, right?
Right.
And like, I mean, truthfully, like video games really need to evolve to kind of meet the moment that we're in. I mean, they always have really, and they probably will continue to do that. But this thing hit us so fast and so quick. I mean, video games didn't really have an opportunity to sort of pivot as quickly, right? I mean, it's
No.
I mean, because you look at like World of Warcraft, how huge that was for so many years, and you know, Fortnite has like 80 million active users or something like that, and
it's like all the time it takes to, you know, do something new with it, or, you know, recode something, I'm sure.
well, yeah, I mean, and just the fact that they were able to like create this very chill island where you can just, you know, grab a parrot's legs and fly around, you know, just for the fun of it. That's like, you know, something super creative. It's of the moment. And right now there's a big opportunity for games that should offer more of a social experience and be more of like that magnetic draw for people who don't even play games, for those people that are like stuck at home and wanting to escape the mundanity, the mundane day to day of just, you know, doing the same routine every day. I mean, and that's why you play games, right? That's why I play games.
Yeah. No, it's an escape. And like, I feel like I've almost had to, like, I don't know, I've looked back at a day and I've been like, I don't know, like, I apologize to children. I'm like, I'm sorry. I've like battled demons in hell for like a shift today. You know, that was probably better things I could have done. But like, I mean, I think I read like a Times article about how, yeah, it's like just people are doing that now, and that's acceptable. That shouldn't be seen as, you know, some form of being lazy.
Yeah, it's gotten where people are using it more as, I mean, what would you rather have? Somebody who went out and spent like, you know, $100 playing golf every weekend, or somebody who spends $100 a month and has like really cool subscription to Steam,
right,
you know, and doesn't spend that much time and is present when you need them, you know, and isn't off at the golf course getting drunk with his buddy. Don't get me wrong, golf's a great sport, I suppose. I haven't played it in years.
I don't believe in it.
Did you know that's one of the only sports that was not closed by the executive order?
Right. Is it in tennis also?
Correct.
Was that because, you know, the distance?
It's either one of two things, maybe three, but definitely two things. One, that because you can walk up, and as long as the where you check in to play golf are sanitizing the carts, and you know, you don't have to do much interaction with the attendant, then essentially you're out for a nice leisurely walk.
Oh, because they're lower on the caste system than you are, so you don't have to. They're below you, so right, you don't have to interact with them.
Yeah, so you pay ahead of time and just go.
I'm not trying to stereotype
your cart will be waiting
right now.
But think about this, Reed. Politically, think about the people who play golf and play tennis religiously, and now they still have access to it. So you're not pissing off the people who have money because you're allowing them to continue with their more considered elitist sport.
Oh, it's totally, yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong. I love tennis. We'll go to the U.S. Open. It is my zen. It is something that I'm a very I'm not a team oriented guy as far as sports go. I'm a very solo oriented guy. I like watching martial arts, and I enjoy watching tennis. It's one of the things I like watching. Like,
you like watch martial arts, like not like, you know, like movies and stuff, but like the sports.
Well, the concept of learning a martial art. You know, it's very it's very self oriented, right? You and an opponent. That's it. So it's you and an opponent, and that's it. Tennis throws a ball and some rackets in there. It's a few more rules. At any rate, think about the people who do that, and they're not the ones out protesting right now. Do you notice that? There's that sweet spot of people that are a certain age, they're a certain demographic, but they're also very conspicuously a certain wage bracket, right?
Right.
So, and I've always read this thing. It's like the people who make $700 an hour have convinced the people who make $17 an hour that the people who make $7 an hour are a problem.
Right. No, that's what it's all about, man. It's about it's it's the next level of exploiting the worker. It's just like, can we just, like, I don't know, drag her name through the mud also,
I need to
as well as
my nails look terrible, Reed. And I get it too. It's therapeutic, right? If people go get their nails done, to get massages, to get haircuts, makes them feel better as a person. I totally understand that, where it's coming from. But I'm talking about a fucking pandemic.
Yeah, and I almost get like a massage more than a haircut. Like I feel like I understand people that have chronic pain.
I have offered to do Roseanne's nails and her toenails for her. I'm not going to be the best at it, but I will at least try. It's like we're adapting over here. We're thinking of clever new ways. First of all, to entertain ourselves, and secondly, to help each other feel better.
Because I think people might have put their emotional eggs in a basket of like how they could treat themselves, and that thing is gone now, and now they don't know how to fill it. And some people take it different ways. Some people just get angry and arrested.
I know. I mean, it's like the book. We're getting ready to talk about books now. What a nice transition. As therapy, as books is reading as like an escape from a screen, right? I mean, the ability to sit down with a book or a comic book and just unfold your mind and enter a new world is amazing. And I don't think enough people appreciate that as like treating yourself and also bettering yourself because you're actually doing something that makes you more well read. It's like, what do you read? What are you reading now? Twitter? No, I mean, like, what do you read? What are you reading now? Not right now. Oh,
like books, more than 164 characters. What are you?
Facebook? I don't know. But what have you been reading, Reed? Well, I know that you've been up to your knickers in a nonfiction book.
Yeah, I've been reading On the Farm. It's like I think we might have talked about it in the last couple podcasts.
Yep.
It's about the serial killer Willie Pickton, who is like involved in the disappearance of dozens of women in Canada.
How long ago was that?
Mid-90s.
Okay.
I think it might have, he might have been arrested like at the end of the 90s. I think it was about 98, 99. I think when he was taken into custody. But it's been very heavy on him, but I feel like it's kind of gotten into like the makeup of kind of the urban jungle of Canada, but like it's set in this rural setting, but like outside of this big kind of city that's,
well, he was on a pig farm there, right?
Yeah. No, he lived on a pig farm, and that's kind of how it's assumed he kind of like disposed a lot of the bodies.
And this was in like Vancouver, like in British Columbia.
Vancouver. Sorry, I don't know why I said Toronto. You're right. But it's a lot of, from the whole case, I think it was like a third of the women were of like Aboriginal descent. It's not kind of like breaking down the kind of like demographics of the victims.
But wasn't he and his like brothers sort of like this crazy? They have like a crazy nonprofit called like the Piggy Palace or something.
Well, I don't know if they had I don't know if it was filed as a nonprofit, but yeah, it was kind of like an informal bar they almost created that was kind of like it's like the cantina from Star Wars, but Canadian. And
a hive of scum and villainy.
Yeah, it's very much a hive of scum and villainy, and but it was they were in cahoot, like in business with a lot of like Hell's Angels through like car thefts. They would like employ like young kids from the neighborhood to like jack cars.
But they would throw like big parties too, right?
Yeah, it was almost like raves.
Oh, what?
Like kind of like I heard that I read a little bit that it would be like kind of like raves, almost like it would be a lot of like there'd be like a DJ. So it's like kind of why I see this just whole story, this
Canadian rednecks
that are just like, it's a weird dynamic that one's just obnoxious and like foul mouthed, and one's kind of like almost innocent in a way, but he's the guy who murders people, and like, I don't know, and he just like lives in a mattress in a room.
Oh wow.
Like, it's really interesting. I don't know. I don't know what the fascination of,
But you said a podcast got you like sort of keyed onto this, right?
Yeah, it was Serial Killers. It's like a podcast. They did like an episode on it, and I don't know, man. If you're a good time, check it out. It's like really, I don't know. It's the one I'm most interested in because there's just kind of parts that I feel like really. It's not like a horror. It's not like I don't know. It's weird grays in the whole thing,
like a Coen movie, like a Coen Brothers movie.
Yeah, kind of. And I just watched Fargo the other day.
Oh, so that's right on the tip of your brain, then, right?
Yeah. So as I was watching it, I was kind of like, like it kind of made me think.
Oh yeah. Write that screenplay, baby. Sell it to the Coen Brothers.
Man, I've like written a couple sketches. That's like my main writing portfolio. That's a lot of work, man. I don't know.
It is.
But
you just got to get the format right, so that you can or put it in the outline, a treatment first and then an outline, this is
right.
a two-pager on what this is about. Boom, boom, 6 paragraphs. And then turn that into an outline, and turn the outline into, a process, right? Respect the process.
No, that's really good. This is what I've been trying to kind of figure out, get more
I've got a book on screenwriting, actually.
Cool.
I might do a porch drop for you.
Cool. We'll double Sandy that and
get the funk
I'll
on.
read it.
You also, what else? You said you were reading Ice Cream Man from Image?
Yeah, it's Ice Cream Man's like this kind of like horror anthology from Image. It's really good. I like it a lot.
And it's sort of, does this like sort of, I was reading a review said it's sort of a genre defying comic book series.
Yeah, because like it kind of really starts out. The first issue is like very horror vibe, and then the second issue is kind of just like a dramatic gut punch. It's really kind of like an emotional piece. It's like there's bleak parts of it, but it's not like horror like the first issue was.
I just imagine how creepy the Ice Cream Man can possibly be.
Oh, dude, yeah, like
with his little tinkly music coming down the street, and
it's such a good. They use it as like a framing device, and it's just really good. Yeah.
Oh man,
because it's creepy. There's one that. Do you hear the one from over your place? There's one that comes around here on like 5 or something. It plays Christmas music though. Sometimes I don't know. It's just like silent. And I don't know what it is.
Are people still coming out to get it? Like even like during the shutdown?
Man, I hope. You're like not leaving your house to get like a strange like SpongeBob SquarePants like gummy ball eyeball one.
Ice Cream Man be handing out COVID pops. Just giving out
just dipped in anthrax fudge. That's when
with malaria marshmallows. So good. Oh man.
That's it's W. Maxwell Price is the writer of that. But yeah, I would, if you ever get a chance, man, check it out. If you ever find him in a box.
Yeah, and Martin Morazzo and Chris O'Halloran are the artists, and is it a one shot? Is it a short series? What is it?
No, I mean it's I've read like 10 issues into it. I don't know how far it goes, but it seems like it's an ongoing series.
Are they all? Is it a series, or is it sort of like one shot tales of his life?
Well, that's what I'm really interested. That's why I kind of want to finish it, is because it's kind of anthological. It's kind of like a different story in each one, but they're like the Ice Cream Man is kind of a framing device that kind of is with each issue, he's kind of fleshed out more as a character, and it kind of becomes a recurring thing, but there's still like a separate piece of it that's, kind of Twilight Zone-y and its own kind of contained story. It's like really good.
Cool, man. Sounds good.
What about you, man? What you been putting your eyes on? That's a weird way to talk about reading. I'm sorry. I drink too much wine. I don't know why.
And your eyes on. So as far as like, big long prose books, I've been chipping away at this like 800-page best short stories from 2018. And it's great because, I can get through like half of one before I fall asleep. It's my nightstand book,
Right. So, sorry, what was the link on this? What were you saying? What was the
best science fiction short stories of 2018?
Oh, yeah. No,
Sorry,
I gotcha.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. I might have ran through that too quickly. But I love it because it's, for me, the perfect device for literature is the short story. There's nothing better for me. I love I love comic books, Reed. I love them. But comic books are in a way a short story. I mean, each comic is a short story in and of itself.
But you like those you like a good 6-issue story. You don't like, I don't know, like an 8-year run, you don't want to have to like keep up with.
Well, and it's very obvious from my pull list too, which I was getting ready to get to next, is like, so for my comic book pull list, what I was picking up every other week or every week, depending on what stuff came out from Fight or Flight Comics, which is now, they picked a good time to merge with Ultimate Comics, didn't they?
Right. No, that's good.
So I had been getting a pull list from there, and I got I'm a little complacent. I got very complacent with my reading. And so what I did is started creating a folder for each title, or I started keeping a folder by the days in which I pulled stuff. So some things would have one thing in it, and some things would have like 6 things in them, because there's like A/B cover art for stuff as well. And so I had all these folders up here that were just chronological by the day they came out. And so I was like, I got to get a handle on this. So like 2 nights ago, I sat down at the dining table, cleared everything off the dining table, and just started laying them out one beside the other. Okay. I had like, okay, I'm in the 6th issue. There's 7, 8, 9. Okay, cool. And then I was like, wow, look at it. And I'm like, Reed, you're not going to believe how many.
How many Conans do you have? Just tell me how many Conans you have.
I mean, okay.
Main series, not like
so. I want you to think reasonably. Like, how many? Like, what's a reasonable number of different titles to be reading at the same time? Like, what's a reasonable number? I have no idea. Like, what a reasonable number is. Sorry.
I feel like when I was reading regularly, I think I could usually keep up with like 4 or 5.
Okay.
Without feeling like I was like
out of control. So what do you think? So what would be like a lot of titles? Like, what do you think would be a lot of titles above and beyond what you just mentioned? Like that, what would the number be for that?
Like I think 10 would be like a lot of titles.
Okay, that's like too much, or would
that like if like every month you're getting 10 new books?
Well, possibly. Some things are staggered. Some things are like a mini-series, 4 shots, and some are 1 shots, and some are.
Well, if you're considering 1 shots and shit like that,
maybe not. Well, maybe not 1 shots, but more mini-series and.
Like even mini-series. Man, I would maybe up my number even a little bit.
Okay.
No, I don't. This is the new Magic the Gathering or metal card. It's like
pretty ridiculous. So I'll go ahead and I'll throw you a lifeline, man. I had 12 titles that I was reading.
Okay,
at the same
I
time.
think I was like, dude, I was thinking if you were
30 or something.
15.
No, like so it's 12. It's 12.
Okay.
Titles.
If you were going to say 15, I was going to call.
I'm sorry. I didn't look at the second page. I'm sorry. I'm just going to the second page now. It is 15. Sorry.
Oh, man. I'm calling the police. No, I don't know. No, 15 seems 20, though, would be bananas. Like, that's crazy.
Oh, wait a second. There's no, seriously. Okay, so here they are in no particular order, sort of by genre. Conan the Barbarian. Marvel has, at the beginning of this year, picked up the Conan stuff. So Conan the Barbarian is like my main read. The second one of that is Savage Sword of Conan, which Jerry Duggan, Friends of Brian Posehn, started out doing the first three, and then like he'll do a series, then they'll switch writers, switch artists, and then he'll do another.
Did Teenie Howard? Is that the one Teenie Howard did?
No, Teenie Howard did Age of Conan Belit, which is like Conan's girlfriend Belit, who's the dark haired princess. So yes, that was that's the third one. So you have Conan the Barbarian, Savage Sword of Conan, Age of Conan Belit. Then you have Conan Battle for Valera, which is a mini run series as well. I haven't even started that one.
Dude, you're just going through a time when whatever publisher is putting out like 6 different kinds of your books of your favorite character.
Exactly.
I get it. This happens.
There's the Conan Battle for Valera mini, and then there's the Age of Conan Valeria, which is another series that's running concurrent with Conan the Barbarian, the Savage Sword of Conan, and it's like Age of Conan Belit was, but it's going to be another mini that's running concurrent with those. Conan the Barbarian Exodus mini, Conan the Barbarian 2099. Yeah, read.
Oh fuck! Of course they're going to 2099 Conan.
Oh,
that's awesome.
He's so badass, and Cyberpunk Conan is like my new favorite thing.
Oh, that's super cool.
And then you're going to love this one. So there's Conan Serpent War with Moon Knight.
Ooh.
Yeah,
I didn't think about that.
Like very much like a rogue in a cloak, running around with Conan. So good, man. Like
Moon Knight.
They play into each other so well.
Is it like crazy Moon Knight? Is he kind of like blatantly like kind of insane, or is it?
No, because
he's pretty cool.
Conan, him and Conan seem to be pretty like down with each other a little bit, because Conan is kind of a loner, a maverick, and does his own thing and speaks directly to Crom, his god, and it's like there's trust issues there, but there's always going to be that,
right?
So those are my first.
Mark Spector doesn't need anyone else because he has like 3 different people also in his head. So
there you go. It's awfully crowded in here. 8. That's 8 titles of just Conan series. Right there. So then the other half of that, the other 7 is Dungeons and Dragons: A Darkened Wish, which is a series, little mini that's running, and then Dungeons and Dragons Infernal Tides, which is another storyline altogether, different artists, different writers, and then Rick and Morty versus Dungeons and Dragons. And the cool thing about these, like all of these Dungeons and Dragons and Rick and Morty started it, is like they'll do character sheets on the front or back page of like Rick as a cleric or Rick as a grand wizard, and or as a sorcerer or a ranger, or Morty or Summer playing an elfin ranger. It's cool. Like to see the character sheets, how they're built out for their strengths, ability checks, their feats, and all this cool stuff. It's really cool. They have gotten a real good grasp on how to incorporate the D&D nerd with the comic book nerd, and they found me. I was right here the whole time, you bastards.
That's awesome.
And
you were their demo. You were their like key demo.
I'm absolutely that guy. And then of course you have like all of for me, it was like going to find Conan between D&D sessions. Like I would go get my Conan the Barbarian every month, or a Savage Sword of Conan, to sort of like, have these pictures to go with these battles that we're fighting when we're playing D&D back in the 80s. So now they're writing D&D for Rick and Morty fans. It's like, oh, you got comic books and D&D and Rick and Morty. Everything's perfect. I'll take it. Now, the next one, I'm such a huge fan. Just of the art itself. The story's great, but the art itself, Silver Surfer Black. I don't know if
I need to really get into this.
I don't know if you've seen pictures from that, or if I've shown you like the inside of that.
The art's incredible.
It's incredible. Yeah. Every single panel is like a piece of beautiful pop art, and it blows me away.
He does the Silver Surfer as like, what's that Leonardo da Vinci, like
David,
the man thing, like where it's like, I don't know, it's like his
David, yeah
the guy, he's like got extra legs.
You mean like I know what
The
you're talking.
whatever man. It's like the something man. Not the Michelin man, but like something.
Did you say Leonardo DiCaprio?
I said Da Vinci. I thought, dude, I really. You will go back and edit this, and there will be a weird pause
Leonardo
where I'm like, Leonardo
Da Vinci.
Da Vinci. Like that's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Oh man. Oh, hang on, let me compose myself here. Yeah, I don't know what that thing's called. So back to the list. So that's 12.
Sorry, yeah, that was
sorry.
Way sidetracked.
Sorry. It's fine. 13 is Die, D-I-E, and this was by Giernan
Killen?
Yeah. I can't say his damn name. And it is the second part of the series. Like they'd released 6 books and then they took a break, and it's about these kids who start playing this game that is made by this one guy who's a dungeon master. It's a role-playing game, and they all enter the game, and they stay there for like 30 years. But the dungeon master remains there, and then they end up through some sort of thing having to go back into the game to see if they can't save this guy. It's fantastic.
Right.
It's like right in my wheelhouse. It is. They're creating a game based on the comic book. I mean, or the guy who's creating the comic book, Gillen, is actually going to be. They've already play tested the game already. It's called Die, and I'm just excited to see how they fold that in and like the different character arcs that they're trying to incorporate into it. I haven't looked at any of the playtest stuff yet because I don't want it to. Hopefully, it won't spoil anything for me.
Right.
Let's see.
You think they would? I don't know. I don't know if they.
No, you're right. I doubt it. I mean, I doubt it would spoil it. Maybe some of the monsters. I don't know. All right, so that's number 13. Number 14 is Blade Runner 2019.
What? Who is doing this Blade Runner series?
Hang on for a second. Come on, whistle a tune or shuck and jive while I grab it real quick.
Oh, sorry. So Blade Runner, everybody, is a movie about androids. Anyway, there is a cut where Harrison Ford says the N-word and no one's excited about it. And it's a voiceover. It sounds like they called Harrison Ford like out of bed at like 7 a.m. It was like, hey man, executives came. They're like, dude, no one knows what's going on in this movie. Can you explain everything? And then also have to say the N-word at one point, and you can just hear in his voice how much he would rather be banging Carrie Fisher like in that movie.
Oh man, it's great.
Are you ready? Sorry,
I'm ready, man. I was just gonna let you go on. I've been ready.
Okay,
I've been ready for a minute here.
Too long.
I've been ready.
I went up too long.
You did not run the light, man. I gave you the time. So it is from the pen of Academy Award nominated screenwriter Michael Green, who wrote Blade Runner 2049, Logan, and American Gods. So the screenwriter for Blade Runner 2049, plus longtime co-writer Mike Johnson, who wrote Supergirl and Star Trek, and artist Andre Guinaldo from Justice League Dark and Captain America. And it's the first comic to tell an original in-canon story set in the Blade Runner universe. And I've only gotten through, I've gotten through the first issue of it yet. Number 15, History of the Marvel Universe. And I think there's like 6 issues of that right now, 5 issues or 6 issues.
What? Is this new?
Yeah, they got a new History of the Marvel Universe.
That's awesome. I love that shit.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you have to walk, Fight or Flight, you have to walk by every single comic to get to the cash register, like that big wall of comic books. And I always, before I walk up there, I just stop and look. And I go, well, that looks cool. That looks interesting. I think I'll check that out. And that's how I found 20 Blade Runner. And I was like, oh, man, I want to read, History of the Marvel Universe twice, please.
That's awesome.
3 times on Sunday.
Because it's like one thing I read that I forgot that I read was like Chip Zdarsky did this series called Spider-Man Life Story.
Oh yeah.
And it's kind of just like a total retelling of this like Spider-Man's whole career from like the 60s, and like it tweaks a lot of stuff that like really kind of fucking breaks your heart. And I love Chip Zdarsky as a writer so much.
His Howard the Duck is awesome. I love it.
He's great. I read like the whole series in like one sitting, and like I read the last issue outside, and I'm glad because I like kind of wanted to cry. I was like, if someone else was here, I would have totally cried, and I would have been like, I'm crying because the Spider-Man comic makes me feel.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Howard the Duck.
Oh, sorry. No, sorry.
I could just see you weeping over.
Probably like, Emma Thompson or something, or whatever her name was.
No, his comedy writing really shines through in that. I mean, it's really good. When my dad was in the hospital a little while back, I took him the trade paperback of all of Zdarsky's Howard the Duck. He liked it, man. He liked it. He liked
awesome.
it. I don't know if he remembers reading it because he was pretty high on. He was having heart surgery, and
oh man, what if he had weird Howard the Duck dreams? Because you like gave him this like Howard the Duck comic book while he's like on all the.
Well, look, man, we are like right at 2 hours here. So I will say at this point, if anybody has any recommendations for things we should be reading for punk metal bands that we should be listening to, any comedy we should be listening to, please send us an email at cpgbpodcast@gmail.com. That's cpgbpodcast@gmail.com. Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at CPGB Podcast. But Reed, where can people catch your shows in the month of May?
All right. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was going to say, like, you said recommendations for stand-up. I was like, man, I feel like we got to give like a shout-out to our buddy Derek Sheen, who put out his new album last week. Macho Caballero, and it is hilarious. Go check it out on Spotify and stuff.
Derek Sheen, Seattle-based comedian.
But yeah, no, I don't know. I'll be doing like a weird Instagram live roast thing with Jacob Rice on Wednesday or Tuesday. It'll be the past by the time you hear this. I don't know. Check out my Instagram at Reed Pegram, ReidPegram on Instagram. I'll be posting comic stuff and drawings and art. I don't know, things that make me feel. It's like creating things is the only thing that, makes me feel alive. So check it out. And also my Facebook. I don't know, nothing. I'm not going to be doing anything, Ryan. Long story short, nothing.
Well, I will be appearing in a blue unitard with red underwear and a long cape with an S on it. Fighting for truth, justice, and American way, one computer keystroke at a time, the best way I know how. Our show is produced and edited by me, Ryan Parker, and our opening theme is by Mega Colossus, and cpgbpodcast@gmail.com is the email, and at cpgbpodcast is our handle on all the social media. Reed, what else you got? Anything?
Stay safe. Don't be an idiot. And it's not the Holocaust. That's it. That's all I got.
Be safe out there, everyone. We'll see you at the shows.